getting a headshot is the most efficient way to kill an enemy in a game usually. Unfortunately, it's also the most grotesque way to do it. Like it's just, you know, the idea of shooting someone in the face is horrible. But it's like simply the human brain understanding that it's the most efficient way to beat the game. It's you learning a task. The human brain loves to not only do something and get rewarded for it, but see that it's making progress at getting better at it. And like, again, the discussion is that like you're shooting people. So from my grandma or whoever that doesn't play games, from the outside, they're looking at it and it's like, that's horrible. You know, and I think a lot of like politicians or
All right, so first up, I'm gonna have you taste our Ghost Hill Bourbon. This is named after our 28-acre ranch out here in Dripping Springs. This is 100% grain to glass made here on property. We use local heirloom grains, so it's gonna be a true taste of Texas. In this bourbon, we have 57% corn, 32% wheat, and 11% barley. So as a wheated bourbon, you're gonna get a little bit more of a malty flavor, nice little mild spice on the finish, definitely some soft oak in there. We age it in our open air rick house under the sun for 2 years, so you can really taste what the Texas climate brings to a bourbon. Enjoy.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. You both are in the gaming industry, which is why you are here. I love video games. I don't play them enough because I'm getting older and I have other things that just happen in life.
I did see a collection of consoles under your TV, so.
Oh, we still get the game. We still game. We still play the games.
A bit of a collector. You just don't
No, we play. The girlfriend and I play. Girlfriend plays.
Okay.
It's rare to find a girlfriend that plays some video games. So.
It's so true.
That's why
they're out there.
That's why we're still together. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. But no, I think yeah, that's why y'all are here. I was big into them. Me and my buddy in high school would play like Halo for I don't know how many hours out of the day when we could.
All of them.
All of them. But games always kind of found its way, and the industry, as you all know, is next level right now. You have games like Fortnite that did 2 billion, I think, last year, 1.8 or something absurd.
I think they had
in
to
a year.
invent a new number for how much money it's
Right.
making, so. Anywhere I go, whether I'm out at a bar or around some family members, for people who aren't playing games, it is like the #1 go-to when they want to talk to somebody who works in the industry. It's like, oh, Fortnite. It's like it used to be Halo, it used to be Call of Duty, and like even at a gas station like a couple of days ago, someone brought up FIFA. Like that game is huge.
Huge.
But like when people are wanting to talk about the industry or how do I get my kid into it or whatever, it's immediately Fortnite. And it's kind of crazy because it looks like it was an overnight success, but for a while there, Fortnite was in development hell, like for years. If I load up the Epic launcher, it was there. They had their own tab. And then, you know, it was supposed to be this single player thing, or it was supposed to be like a co-op thing. And they were like, well, let's capitalize on, like you said.
Yeah, it was like a zombie game in the beginning. Like it's a tower defense kind of thing.
It was a tower defense building game because at the time, like Minecraft was like, it's still huge, but they wanted to get some of that building aspect in there. And yeah, it is, I mean, even Game Informer, it was on the cover and they had purple zombies. And now you've got like dance emojis and flossing. I don't know. It's capitalizing on a lot of corners of pop culture right now. And I think it actually is now a facet of pop culture.
Yeah,
in a really crazy way.
It's made, you know, the billions of dollars it's made, but then you have within a year competition that didn't exist, prize money that didn't exist, and within a year you're paying 15, 16-year-olds millions of dollars that just won a competition of something that literally didn't exist.
Yeah.
Like if you're a pro golfer, an athlete, or somebody getting into the worldwide whatever sports, and you're seeing this happening, you know, whatever, it's different money, it's different industry, so I get it, but at the same time, you just have this dollar amount attached to it.
Yeah.
From a kid that just decided to play video games for 5, 6 years of his life.
Yeah.
He's 15, 16 years old and is making this kind of money.
I think one of the things that's most interesting about the Fortnite business model is it's free to play, right?
Right.
So that's crazy. because they have, I mean, who can compete with free-to-play, you know? But they're still making crazy amounts of money. And I think it's because they figured out how to sell people hats or, you know, whatever it is.
Yep.
Dances. I think, you know, in the broader discussion of games in general, like, you know, 5 to 10 years ago, you know, in that period, like the average casual gamer, if you want to call them that, would buy maybe 4 to 5 games a year. Now you're looking at, I can come in at a barrier of entry of $0 and get way more content and time out of that. So people are buying less games these days. And so there's a discussion right now of like, well, is a $60 game, you know, this $60 game compared to this $60 game? Unfortunately, the discussion is like, well, how much content am I going to get out of this? What's the dollar amount? And, you know, it's like, as someone who makes these things, it's like, you know, unfortunately, there's less of a discussion about the actual art form. So, but that's like the commercial art industry, right? There's a commercial aspect. Right. So, but I don't know, that with the indie scene also being there, I think you're seeing a lot more smaller studios or studios of many sizes making games that are, you know, $10 to $15 or whatever. Right. I mean, that also circles back to like the Apple store. Like, you know, people don't want to pay 99 cents for a song, or, you know, now the Apple, on the App Store, I can go get like Final Fantasy for $60 on an iPad, like, and people don't blush, you know, at that or whatever. So the market is really weird. But I think Fortnite and free-to-play games like that really shifted the balance, because, you know, people are only going to buy 1 game a year because you can get content elsewhere for, you know, little to nothing.
So Isaac, tell me a little bit about yourself. I know you're in the gaming community. You work at
Bluepoint
now.
Bluepoint Games.
You had a stint at BioWare for a few years.
Yeah, that was my first official gig. Did 4.5 years on Star Wars: The Old Republic. And then that game shipped, and they culled some of the staff, and I was still fairly junior at that point, so I was set free.
They did give you a nice cardboard box for your stuff on your desk.
They did. It was nice. And a lightsaber hilt. So take that.
What did you do specifically on that game?
I started off as an environment artist, and then transitioned after a couple of years to character art. So like environments, that's basically all the buildings, any flora, lighting, props, all that kind of stuff. And then characters are anything that a character either is or interacts with. So weapons and vehicles and you know, heads, hair, mustaches, sweet mullets.
Sweet mullets.
Sweet mullets. Jedi mullets.
And a little bit of scripting, which is basically just like writing tools to make creative processes a little bit less painful if possible. And then I found a position at a studio in town called Certain Affinity as a character artist. And I was working on initially Halo, and then Doom, Call of Duty, World of Tanks, and a couple other smaller projects kind of sprinkled throughout. So that was awesome. That was actually a fantastic job. But after about 5 years, it was time to move on. So I'm currently at my latest incarnation, and I've sort of transitioned away from character art more into purely a technical art role. So now I'm just like doing a bunch of Python scripting, and you know, that's mostly focused on like automation and performance.
You are also a professor at UT.
Yes, I also teach.
Yes, busy man.
Yeah, so I've got, currently right now I have 3 classes. I have 1 class at the Art Institute for 1 more week, and then I will be putting a fork in that. I started in 2011. It's actually where I met this fine fellow, and several other very, very talented and wonderful human beings. One of the things that you should have in your portfolio is a thing that occurs in all video games, which is weapons, right? Like it's not like I made a cool gun. It's like I can model something that's hard surface. I can, you know, tell a story with my texturing. I understand poly counts and UVs and like just the 10,000 little random things that you have to be able to demonstrate instantly. Guns are just really good platforms for that. But you know, we live in a different time now, and there's this extra sort of like social baggage now.
Some sensitivity around it.
Sensitivity, right. Like, I completely understand it. So yeah, there was just a request to provide an alternative if students wanted it. the thing that I discovered over my time at the Art Institute is like, the #1 determinant of whether or not somebody's gonna be successful is if they have to be told to stop, they're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
If they have to be told to start, it's never gonna work. Because there's like diamonds in the rough where they're gonna find, like I didn't tell him about that tutorial, he found it himself.
Right.
He bought it.
I bought it and I came the next day and he goes, "Are you Coleman?" And I was like, "Why, yes I am." And he's like, "Hey man, I'll just give it to you, don't spend money." And I was like, "Well no, I want to, you know, give back to you because you're putting out extra works." And he was like, "All right, well I'll buy you a beer sometime." He's bought me several beers. So
nice. Well, now we got to put your link at the bottom of this video.
Yeah.
Right here. And then click here.
Can't wait till I put it in post. And
don't watch the wheel tutorial though. It's not that great.
It's awful. It's awful.
Click here.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's basically it. And now as far as like, you know, people who want to use different tools, there are other tools that will, you know, answer a lot of the same questions. But if anybody that I know touches them, they're dead to me.
My first game I ever played that sticks out in my mind is my mom had the original Game Boy with Tetris. And
Tetris, and for head-to-head competition.
Yeah, like
go mom.
Yeah,
exactly. Hi mom. So yeah, like Tetris sticks out as like the first game where it's like, okay, like this is more than Tinker Toys. This is more than Legos. Like there's a virtual aspect, you know. Of course, I was in the back seat at night, so like there's no backlit screen, so you know you're like.
Oh, it's like it was the Game Boy.
You know, I'm a bit of an old guy here.
I used to have the like little light that would go on top of it.
Yeah, the little
clip-on light.
Yeah, exactly.
Before they did the backlit shit.
Yeah. So, but I don't know, like. When I started like getting consoles, my first console I got was the Nintendo 64. So like, it's a gradual process of just seeing that this medium is still alive.
Right.
And it's also like improving. Like visuals get better. Like the first job I ever really wanted to have, this is super totally serious. I wanted to be a magician. Like I wanted to be a magician.
I don't mean laughing.
Oh, it's
magicians are great.
I wanted to be a magician, and my dad said they didn't make enough money. That was straight up his answer.
Yeah.
And for me, like, honest to God, I think video games are like a form of magic. Like, at least for the audience. Right?
That's a neat statement. Yeah, it's true.
Like, there's an audience, and then there's someone who's lying to you, right? Like, it is an illusion. You know, it is like ones and zeros. There's a science behind it. But for me, like some experiences were just like, how did they do that? Like, this is like, it is completely like I'm in another realm. It was never like, hey, these polygons look cool. For me, it was like, oh my God, 3 hours went by and I was in this world.
Right.
I want to do that for people. Like,
yeah.
That was sort of my experience.
My experience, not that I'm in gaming, but started the gaming, like passion. Halo was definitely that as a shooter, but Metal Gear Solid, it was this cinematic experience.
Yeah.
There was like crazy cutscenes and this incredible narrative and these ridiculous over-the-top villains.
I'm psychopath.
And I'm like, what is happening? This is a video game? Because before that was like Mario 3 and like Gran Turismo, and you're just doing a thing.
Yeah.
Whereas this was just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Thing about game development at this point that's interesting to me is solving problems. And the kind of stuff that I get to look at is like things that have a significant impact on optimization, performance. Like, so there's like a thin veneer of art around a ton of programming. Like that's effectively what a game is.
Yeah.
So the programming is trying to do all of this really, really complicated stuff. And if the art is heavier than it needs to be, it's just like, trying to swim through water rather than running through air, like it has a significant impact. So that's what's interesting to me now.
Yeah.
Looking at 10,000 different assets and figuring out which of those assets I can remove 10% of the excess polygons from to get an extra half a millisecond.
Yeah.
It's totally awesome. It sounds terrible. Probably, there's no way that I could explain it in a way that would be like, oh, that's totally engaging and way cooler than like making Master Chief. But I mean, there's a lot of stuff about when you've made hundreds of game assets, it's the exact same thing over and over again.
Sure. Like,
somebody who's more junior and less experienced, they might look at a, model of a vehicle or a model of a weapon or a backpack or whatever, and they're like, oh my God, it's totally different. It's not. It's just like how tall is this brick house? How many bricks do you have to lay? You just build it up, right? Like it's fundamentally, once you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So that was cool for like 10 years. But at this point, you know, not being interested in narrative, now all I care about is like, are the engineers happy?
Right.
All right, so I'm gonna give you our third and final whiskey. This is our red-handed rye. This one's actually distilled in Canada. Ryes, being a different category of whiskey, are typically gonna be more spicy, more peppery. This one has been in the barrel for about 11 years now, so it's had a lot of time in there to grab a lot of delicate flavor and really smooth out. And they also only use 53% rye, so you're not gonna get a ton of spice. You get a little bit more delicate flavors like pear, green apple, mild caramel. And then I'm throwing one of my favorites in. Believe it or not, it's actually a gin. We'll see what you think when you try it. This is our antique gin. So we actually start with our number 9 gin, which has 9 different botanicals in it. So a very floral gin. Put it in a barrel and age it for 2 years. And it's gonna grab all of its color and a brand new flavor from the oak. So I'd love to see what you think about this one.
Good? Yeah. Maybe we're just
not a gin guy.
Yeah.
It's definitely interesting.
I like it.
Do you like it?
I do like it, yeah.
It's like, I like that there's crap in the bottom of my little glass here.
There's crap in the bottom?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I see that too.
Yeah.
Is that the barrel?
I don't know.
Barrel
Maybe
dust?
it's the botanicals.
It tastes like a Yankee candle? Is it supposed to do? I like it.
You have a lot of
like,
Yankee candles in your day?
I do, actually.
Is that what the kids are doing now? Yankee candling.
It's like a Michael's craft store. You know, that
like you just
that
took a
Christmas.
craft supply table and just scooped it into a cup.
It's
Like
lovely.
a Christmas in my mouth.
Yeah. In September.
Santa, no. All right. You're not a big gun person. You don't necessarily, you're not against them.
Yeah.
Like we talked about this earlier, but you've never really shot a lot of guns,
Yeah.
if at all.
Yeah,
So,
so I've been to the range with a buddy of mine, and that was the first time I fired a rifle, and like it was eye-opening for me because it's like, oh right, this thing is not Call of Duty, right? This thing, you know, it takes a lot of responsibility, but at the same time, it's really fucking fun.
Right.
So, from my perspective, being called a weapons artist, it doesn't help Tinder, not making a lot of matches, but yeah,
Oh, that's incredible.
For me, it's like, I think you could hand me about 20 images of a car. It could be a dumpster. If you give me enough images of something, I can make it. And, and unfortunately, fortunately, however you want to look at it, like guns and like the culture of guns are huge in games. And that's just a fact.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think like there's a lot of people who are going to want to like point at guns for like, you know, in games, or point at video games for being like the cause for a lot of like, you know, horrible things that happen.
Sure.
And I think that's a scapegoat in my personal opinion.
Which is going to lead to my next topic, but you're kind of
Just
hitting it right now.
Hold on.
Segway.
Yeah.
I'll sit here and drink. Keep going. Sorry.
No, it's just yeah, I think that's really unfortunate that video games are escaping. I mean, still to this day, in the last cycle of, you know, news media pointing at games being the problem, I think there was a lot more people this time around going, eye roll, come on, like it's not like the problem. Now that being said, like I think they're unfortunately like all of the top selling games are, you know, shooters, and there's a lot of really good content out there.
Yeah.
But the quickest way for a player to interact with the world is to point at something and press a button. And it just makes for quick and easy game design. And, you know, maybe that's a discussion that the games industry has to have.
There you go. We're talking about political stuff. We got to keep drinking.
That's right. Well, I think there's a single data point that completely illuminates the...
I like it so much.
It is good. That was really good.
The discussion. It was interesting.
Yeah, it was. Interesting's a good word.
I'm still not a gin guy. If you're a gin human...
You should just gave me yours. No, okay, fine. Yours.
They have violent video games in countries without guns, and they don't have mass shootings. It's not the game.
Right.
It's the gun.
Yep.
Correlation, causation sort of argument where, like, when you look at a mass shooter like Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris, you know, at Columbine, like, of course they played games, because it's the opposite, right? It's not shooters learn from video games. Shooters happen to play video games because everybody plays video games. It's a bummer that when things like that happen, video games get pointed at, but I think there's a lot more people these days who just don't buy into it, so that's good. There's progress.
Right. Well, there is neither a movement to ban video games or guns. You know, like people would like it to happen, but with the, I mean, it's impossible to imagine a scenario where there would be an effective campaign to remove weapons from the American populace. I mean, it's just, we're super saturated at this point.
So
it's complicated.
It is, well, I don't know how to even.
What? It's complicated? No way.
That's right, guys.
Let's solve it right
Guess what?
here.
It's complicated.
I like that whole conversation to end it.
It's complicated, just like that weird gin whiskey we just had. It's like you kind of like it and you kind of don't, but you mostly do.
Right.
But you definitely finish it.
Going into how you
voluntarily swallow your own
how you love modeling guns, how we love playing shooters.
Yeah.
Those are the games that people are playing at the millions. Yeah. Millions of people are playing this. Well, and it's like, how can you single that out? How do you decide? I don't know.
For me, it's like, I mean, it's not too hard to imagine a world where, like, instead of the quickest way to interact with a game to be shooting is like to be driving a car, right? Imagine if, like, instead of shooters, the most popular genre was like racing. For me, I mean, for me specifically, like, in my opinion, like, a gun is like a car. It's like hard surface modeling. It's just a really, really good way to, it's a really fun and interesting, like, industrial thing to work your head around.
Right.
And at the same time, it's the most ubiquitous form of interacting with the world, you know? Like Fortnite, there are guns in that game, and it's just like, it's just everywhere.
And no blood.
Yeah, well, and there's
very cartoony, very silly.
Yeah.
That's where that separation is, and I guess they chose. I don't think there's blood. I think it's like a flash of light, they just go down.
Yeah.
I think, maybe not, but
yeah. Maybe you see red when you get hit.
I don't remember.
No. Guys, let's play some Fortnite.
I know, we should probably like, I don't know. It's free, right?
I can't compete with these
I think,
guys.
you know, like one of the...
But that was a decision that they made.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that could have been baked into the original game, but you're killing zombies, right? And not humans.
Well,
that's a big separation, right?
There's been several studies in like, you know, they took Halo, and there's like a skull that you can unlock where you shoot grunts, and when you get a headshot, instead of blood, there's confetti. And kids go,
I remember that,
yeah. Yay! So
that sounds way cooler.
Honestly, it sounds pretty great. But the understanding, at least, you know, from the studies I've seen, is not that you're killing people. It's simply like the human brain loves mastering a task. So you know, there are videos you can look online. There's great essays. There's great work out there in the field about how getting a headshot is the most efficient way to kill an enemy in a game usually. Unfortunately, it's also the most grotesque way to do it. Like, it's just, you know, the idea of shooting someone in the face is horrible. But it's like simply the human brain understanding that it's the most efficient way to beat the game. It's you learning a task. The human brain loves to not only do something and get rewarded for it, but see that it's making progress at getting better at it.
Right.
And like, again, the discussion is that, like, you're shooting people. So from my grandma or whoever that doesn't play games, from the outside, they're looking at it and it's like, that's horrible. You know, and I think a lot of like politicians or whoever, you know, see that. They are most often people that don't play games.
At the beginning of every football game, you know, the professional ones, or probably all of them, they sing the Star Spangled Banner, right? Like, why the hell would you do that? It's clearly
America,
which is a song about war, right? Like, I mean, fundamentally. And at the big games, the bowls, they fly the F-16s over.
Right.
Like,
well, if you have a problem, you just take a knee.
Well, right, but you're,
it.
you know, disrespecting the troops. Please don't.
That's right.
I don't
Which has
care.
nothing to do with.
I mean, I kind of do, but
troops.
don't really care. So anyway, like,
police brutality.
Militarism is built into American entertainment. It's a fundamental component of it.
Right.
And for somebody to get like specifically butthurt about like guns in video games, you're just like ignoring a huge swath of like total military propaganda that exists across the board.
Oh my goodness.
Which
how fancy.
This is the Ghost Hill, so that's the grain to glass Texas bourbon that we make here.
Oh my goodness gracious.
First one you tried. Enjoy.
Thank you. So, oh, this is the first one. What is this little
big fancy
Beetlejuice mead? I don't did we put it in? Yeah, let's do that. Cheers, boys. Thank you so much for being here. This has been a lot of fun.
This is the fanciest cocktail I think I've ever had. Mostly because
and that is a delicious old fashioned.
You know it's fancy because it's got the giant ice cube.
Melissa, let's have a round of applause for Melissa. Yes. Question for you guys. Designer burnout. How do you guys, you're a little younger.
What?
So maybe my targeting question will be this way.
Yeah.
I think perhaps
getting into the managerial position, that senior level where you're almost educating and teaching and helping and contributing to the cause and the development process is more important than it is the actual task at hand or the granularity of the day-to-day. Burnout for me creeps up, right? When you're dealing with, especially with me with client-based stuff, you're looking at the work and you're like, oh, I know how to solve this problem. I've done it 10 times, 30 times. How do you guys deal with that? Because I have my own answers, but I don't know if they're any good, but I'm curious.
Well, for
I
me,
would love some insight.
I just went in a different direction. I got really, so basically when I was making art, the only way that the art was interesting was if it was more complicated than the thing I made before it.
Okay.
So the place I find myself is, at this point, I'm 41, 42, I've been making art professionally for over a decade. My personal projects take a year. That sucks, right? Like, it's kind of hard. Most people can maintain a level of interest in a thing for a week, a month, 2 months, 3 months.
Most people are 22 minutes on Netflix.
Fair enough, right? So it's basically you're building a ship in a bottle, and the ship has to get bigger every single generation, right? So eventually you're just looking at like a super star destroyer, and you're like, what am I doing? Why do I care about this? So for me, it has been shifting from making art into this more technical stuff.
Right.
You still need all of the information that is required to make art, but there's this extra level of like this brand new territory to explore of like writing tools and creating user interfaces and talking to artists about like what it is that they're struggling with, and you know, like understanding with my own experience why a thing might suck, and like with like getting their input on like what's the solution. It's been, I feel like you know, the same way I did when I first started using ZBrush on Halo. You know, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm like staring into the helmet of Master Chief.
Tell that to the Covenant.
So, but you know, to achieve that same level of like investment and curiosity and challenge and like all the things that make a career rewarding, I have to go into the code stuff because like certainly there are a million humans on the planet that are way better artists than I am. Like I could push myself further.
Sure.
I just don't really have that wind in my back anymore. So for me, the solution is not necessarily like a clever way to deal with burnout at the same task. It is go do different tasks.
Yeah.
I think for me, like at this point in my career, like having just gotten out of the range of junior as a mid-level now, like when I go to ArtStation, I see that there is like an endless, infinite, like ocean of people better than me. And so for me, at least, like right now, trying to get better at my process, get better at design, get better at making things, I like a treadmill. Like I like running in place and like getting better and better and better because I see that there are people that are just doing incredible work. So I guess that's not necessarily answering the question of burnout because I know it's gonna happen eventually, but at least for folks that are in my position right now, like the constant like needing to just get better like is all I'm looking at right now, all I'm looking forward to. And that's, you know, from a personal stance, like why I want to get into teaching is that's probably going to be like along the lines of what he's saying is like I want to divert a little bit and give back. And you know, I don't know if I ever will burn out. That's just me being a. That's
I didn't think I would either. You know, I was
that's me being naive.
Well, it's when I say burnout, like you recover. It's not a.
Sure.
It's not. I mean, not all the time, but there's a burnout moment where you're like.
Okay, fine, I'm cool, I'm fine.
At Arcane, we just moved to another floor, and like that helped out a lot. Even moving a new space, like I think for a lot of people in this industry, in games specifically, like you work on a project and then you move on. Like you go to a new place, like a new project, a new place, a new space is refreshing, you know? Like, so what I'm saying for me is like, I'm still at the same studio. It's the only studio I've known. And like, even before we moved to Floor, I was like, okay, I can feel like this is just the same old. And then you move to another place, a new desk is refreshing. That helped out a lot. So now think about like moving to a new job, there's new people, there's new challenges, like, and then back to that the other discussion about like even new programs to learn. Like, like when I was in 3ds Max, it's like, okay, I know how to do stuff in this program. Now they hand me Maya and it's back to problem solving. And it's back to me, like, I need to figure something out. So like a challenge, even though it's a new program, it's not necessarily a challenge. Like, a new environment is like totally important for the brain to just be like, okay, like, yeah, I like this that's in front of me now because it's different. So, you know, let's do another video in 10 years and see.
But some of the really fun little small moments in video gaming is when you like hit trash cans and it spills.
And you know
like,
what?
It has nothing to do with the narrative.
Somebody worked really hard on that. There's like several systems.
That's what I'm saying is like, yeah, there were
someone decided to make that happen.
There were 8 meetings that had to happen, and I promise you that trash can spilling,
like that's like a $50,000 decision to make the trash can
comfortably.
Exactly. And I promise you that trash can spilling would have been 1,000 times better, but they had to cut back, and maybe it spills a little less paper.
Yeah, right.
And that's what back to that discussion of like games being made they are so incredibly complex.
And you just kick it down the hole all the way until you get to wherever you're going.
Well, in Control, you lift it and you throw it at somebody's head, you know, whatever you do.
It's like the cat, or not the cat, but like the kid playing with the box more than the actual present. So
yeah, right. So when
like,
Coleman,
this box is fun.
When Coleman was
no idiot,
enjoy parenting.
Right, in his first gig. So one of the features of the game that I contributed to significantly.
Oh, this is my favorite story.
But never actually, well, beyond seeing the couch that I built for it, I mean, like, maybe the best couch ever, if we could be honest with each other.
Introducing the double-decker couch.
We were best friends when I got in this game. Work on this game. I put so many hours in this project. I love
thousands of hours.
Billions of hours. No, I worked really hard on this game, and it turns out...
You haven't been alive 1,000 hours.
Actually, I think I just hit it during this talk.
That's right,
So we actually, we found out that we worked on the same project together, and so you got a copy, then you play through it. He gets 10 minutes in, and he finds the couch and the coil of copper he made.
That's right.
And he's like, done.
Check.
Put
that on the resume.
That's amazing.
Play Prey.
Yet another game.
People need to play Prey and see this couch you made.
That's right.
Yeah. Put that on.
It's memorable. Anyway, so there was a feature where you can basically like inhabit inanimate objects like coffee cups, and then you can like bounce around. And so Coleman's job was go through, correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, you know it, buddy.
And,
I talked about it.
Fill in every little freaking crack where like the collision calculation might screw up and like let you fall through the world as a coffee cup.
Yeah.
So
that's game art.
That's probably one of the times where I experienced burnout first. Was like, we had a task managing software called Handsoft that handled all of our bugs, and it's at the bottom of your toolbar, and you had a little red number like on an iPhone app that, you know, and it says like you have so-and-so bugs.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at that number and I'm tired and I gotta go home and it says 53 or whatever. There are 50 bugs open and I'm like, oh my God, I can't do this. I can't do this job.
Right.
It's gonna be another week's worth of work to get through half of those. I can't do this. And then I turn around and look at the guy behind me and he's got 120 of them. And then it's like, oh, so it puts into perspective, like, at least for me in that moment, like, okay, there's always something, there's always someone working harder, there's always some more work to do, and like, it is a team effort. And so for me, that was really humbling because like, I just knew I had to come in the next day and work on my number because it wasn't the worst that it could get.
Right.
So,
they fired the guy behind you, right?
Oh, he's gone, pal. No, he's the assistant art director now, so he's doing great. But yeah, I don't know. Like, it's a really hard thing to say. Like, it almost ties back to like, how do you get in the industry? Like, it's like those questions where it's like, it's incredibly personal from person to person.
Yeah.
And for the question of like, how do you get past like burning out? I don't know, man. Like, I think you almost have to convince yourself that the work itself is good. Like, it feels good. For me, at least, that's how it is. And, you know, there's a lot of people in this industry that are crunching, and it sucks. Labor is important. Games are made by people. But, you know, like, in that moment, like, from person to person, I think it's just it all depends on who you are and how you can convince yourself that it's worth it at the end of the day. Like, someone is going to see that trash can. And that's what made me like excited on Prey, is like, I made one prop and I was like, someone is going to laugh at that. It's so bad, but they saw it. And like, you know, that's important to me. So
it'll be someone like me who wants to kick it all the way down the hallway.
Right.
Finish like a rock on a dirt road until I get to the checkpoint. I'm like, hey.
For me, it was like, okay, if I'm going to work on environment and I'm a really low rung environment artist, I'm going to be making a table or something in the corner of the room that no one cares about. And that's dope. Like, that's exciting.
But that's the good design that goes unnoticed.
Yeah,
that I was talking about.
1000%.
You don't see it, but you notice it if it's not there.
If it was a weird, like, geometric trash can that did not look like it needed to be there, you're like, you're looking at this story, but then your eye catches this like a weird geometric thing, and you're like, oh, well, they didn't spend time on that. Oh, what are they saying?
So, it's like
that little bit.
And so, like, to get even more like deeper into that discussion about Prey, it's an immersive sim, and that is a genre that does not exist anymore, like, hardly, because it is built around the player agency being infinite. You can go this way, that way, that way, this way, that way. You can have this weapon, and for a team working on that, it's like maybe 10% of the player population is going to see this hallway because they didn't get the card key or whatever. And so, like, I think that's like a really incredible experience that I had to work on a genre that is just like the epitome of game design, and design in general, is that like 5% of people are going to see the thing I worked on or whatever.
I would say more like 100%, but it just goes unnoticed.
Yeah, even
if you take that same approach to everything that you do,
like me, that want to kick it down the hallway.
And they're like, that was dope how I kicked that thing down the hallway.
Now, there is a thing, typically when you start at a new game studio, what they'll do is they'll give you like a coffee cup, you know, with the logo of the game studio, and they give you a notepad, and they also give you a piece of leather that you can fucking bite down on.
The gaming community, the gaming world going in, I don't even want to know about 10 years, 5 years, 10 years from now. What are we doing?
We're gonna have more compelling, more immersive experiences that are going to be more culturally significant than they have been thus far. I think it's going to be the way that people think about great novels, or, you know, like Dark Side of the Moon. We're going to be making video games that have that same level of cultural significance. You know, like, I had a great time playing Halo 20 years ago. But, you know...
You weren't alive yet.
Yeah. Halo.
It was a great game. You should try it out. It's no Prey, but it's, you know...
it's no Fortnite.
But, you know, also, they are great technological feats. And it requires people with amazing expertise and specializations that takes decades to master.
I think what's exciting for me is, like, no matter what the hurdle was or the barrier was to get into games, like I said, I was going to do it, and I'm doing it. But I'm watching games balloon into such a pop culture thing, and such like a critical like pie slice of pop culture. And at the same time, the tools to make those games are so ubiquitous, and the way to like learn them, like I was mentioning about YouTube, like anyone can learn anything. It excites the hell out of me that there is like a generation behind me that can just do it, and like do it for free, do it easy. And I just hope that like the people who are passionate working on good projects, like you know, Stardew Valley or the Shovel Knight team, like I hope that those rise to the top and get more discussion, more viewership. Like, I just hope people buy into those. I'm really excited for the future of games, because like when I was in college, I just have the tools at hand to get a job. And all it takes is a passion and a dedication, like as you're teaching people, and people think it's going to come like just because you show up to a school, and I don't think school is necessary. On that thought, like David Ballard, who used to work at Naughty Dog, said to me in an email one time. I reached out to him, and he was like, "School is a facility that's there just to enable you to learn, but the real learning can happen outside." I'm just so excited for the generation behind me, and I know I'm young, but like I think the people behind me are just gonna like lead the way, and like they're gonna grow up on Fortnite, Minecraft, and like there's a broader discussion to be had about like free to play and what it means to charge something for a game, and all that, and what experience should be for $60. But the content is gonna just balloon, and there's gonna be like a lot of really important like things happening. And the medium is going past films and book, and like I don't know, like I'm an optimist, so that's how I feel about it. But
I think we're gonna wrap it up.
All right, great.
Thank you guys so much for being here. This was a great conversation.
Well, real pleasure.
Treaty Oak, thank you so much for Melissa. And everybody else here, thank you so much. Guys, thanks.
Cheers.
Cheers.